right. And it's
all right. We are just going to be waiting here for the final Facebook group to get logged in here, as Nick is trying to do some of the behind the scenes work for us today. Man, we'll see if we can survive here without John. So yeah, we're good.
We're good.
All right. Well, welcome into Building the Broncos. We are on we got this Tuesday and next Tuesday before the draft. Oh my gosh. It's exciting times. 9 days, man.
It feels like, you're just about to get off work for Christmas, your little kid, and it's about to be winter break, but everybody's waiting for December 25th. And the best part is everybody gets gifts, and also it's 3 days. It's like somewhere between John would hear, he'd appreciate this, but it's somewhere between Hanukkah and Christmas, right? And we're all hoping for a miracle either way, but I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the speculation to end. I feel like a lot of people kind of, at least early on, we know where you stand. And there's only so many times you can give data and give your opinion before somebody's like, okay, I've heard it. Let's move on. But, there's still content to discuss. And, once it's one of those things where it's like, okay, I wish it would get here. It's just like Christmas. I wish it would get here. But once it's over, it's like, well, now what?
Yeah. I will have to say, first day of the draft is my birthday.
Oh.
So hopefully I'm getting a good birthday present that day with a Mr. maybe Trey Lance or Justin Fields. Maybe.
You're going to get Najee Harris at pick 9.
Worst birthday ever.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I took my wife to, I know this is a side story, but to the Avengers, not the Endgame, but the one before that, where everybody, like half the people died.
Infinity War.
And that was her birthday when that came out. And she's like, Carl, this is the worst birthday ever. She was so mad.
Oh, but well, who doesn't make me mad? People in the chat, all our friends in the chat. We got Robert Kitchens in here. First go Broncos, Avs, Nuggets, Rockies, and Buffs. So hitting all of them there. Not DU. What's up with that? No, I was kidding. We got Sebastian coming in with the San Francisco Giants rocking there. I need to get to that stadium, Carl. They say it's like the prettiest in the country, so I'll have to check it out. Dennis Elliott's in the house. How you doing? Good evening, Broncos country. Stay put at 9. We'll see. And then we got Charlie Beagle, an OG. He doesn't always agree with what he says, but I absolutely love Charlie Beagle. And it's really good to see him in here still. And man, Charlie, you always make me laugh. Very funny. George Newton, be interesting to see what happens, to see what is there at 9. Can't wait. That we'll see if the Broncos will be there at 9. And Dennis Elliott, it will be an impact player. I think Dennis is probably on the non-quarterback boat based on the wording there, because I feel like a lot of times the quarterback is more about down the line rather than the impact. And it's kind of like what the Broncos did in 2018. Like, well, do we want to take the quarterback or do we want to take the impact player in Bradley Chubb? Like, no, don't get me wrong, Bradley Chubb was great, but maybe should have taken a swing on a quarterback. I don't know. That's hindsight bias there. Right. We got Jay Kozad in the house too. We're going to talk about this today, Jay. So hold your horses.
Right.
One more for Dennis here before we get going too far. I didn't think Von Miller would be there, but when he was drafted, but I would be shocked if Lance is on the board. Well, Von Miller went number 2. So are you telling me that you thought Von Miller was going number 1? Because maybe he meant Bradley Chubb.
Oh yeah, that could be.
That would make more sense.
I want to ask something. So we got a Jacob Roper and a Jay Roper. Are they brothers?
One's on Facebook, and I feel like Jay always comes in on YouTube. So maybe the same person. They kind of look similar. They got curly hair gang, Carl. I would say similar. The same person. Or brothers. So we have Gavin Cole in the house too. Michael Carmelini nailed it. He said I got it right on Twitter, and you got it wrong. So Vaughn was the second pick. Michael, good to see you in here again. And he said, okay, going to YouTube. So there's your answer.
Oh, okay. Okay. Same guy. Oh, man.
Dylan in the house too. Paul. Love you, Paul. How you doing, Paul? Oh, no, Diamond Rattler here to give me a hard time. I'm back, Nick. He was obviously it's my second show today, so he was giving me a hard time today. But you know what? I feel like some people like are really maybe insecure with their takes, and not to throw too much shade at people, nobody specifically, but like if you can't handle a different opinion about the NFL draft, you're not going to go very far in life. I know it's just the NFL draft, but like it's such a subjective thing that like if you can't handle a different opinion here, I don't know how you function as a functioning member of society, right? So until you come out with this, Mac Jones for pick 9, get out of here, Rice. No, I'm just kidding. But we should probably get to some matters of business. The chat is coming in hot. We already got 130 eyeballs, or I guess double that in here, and only 9 likes. If you guys are watching right now, drop a like. But Carl, let's get it away here.
All right. Well, yeah, we always got to give a little shout out to our Our presenting sponsor for today, of course, that's it's Manscaped.
Mr. Manscaped.
The one that, Mr. Manscaped. But no, I mean, Manscaped has been our sponsor here for a while, and Nick and I can attest their products are great. That we get to use a lot of them in different ways. And so listen up, fellas. If you need anything for grooming wise, this is the product to go to. 2021, you want to be looking your best, especially for the draft. You want to be looking your best. I'm going to be using it if the Broncos do something with that Mr. Monkey Tail that's going to be coming out there. And so make sure that you guys are getting that new me, new mindset. And the best way to really do that is through Manscaped. Manscaped is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming, offering precision-engineered tools for your family jewels and helping keep their male grooming on point. If you let yourself go in 2020 while in quarantine, Manscaped is here for you to reboot and stay clean and shaved in 2021.
Yeah, guys, obviously they have a bunch of great products. I have that cologne actually upstairs in my rotation of a few different colognes, but I really do like that Manscaped cologne. And I have my little travel kit right here. It's just got the essentials, but it's sleek. It's not super heavy. And I put it in my backpack sometimes because, Carl, there's nothing worse than being at work and nobody has like fingernail clippers and you're like messing with a hangnail and then you pull it down and you're just bleeding. And that's small potatoes. I understand that, but if you have your little travel kit here with you, that's never going to happen. It's so sleek. I mean, it's smaller than a wallet. So that's really great as well. Also, I'm starting to get the point where I'm getting that touch of gray going on, but also unfortunately a little bit of nostril hairs here or there. So I actually, in the queue, the Manscaped nose hair trimmer. It's time. 30's around the corner. I got gray hair going everywhere. It's starting to be like Littlefinger in Game of Thrones, where it's just like the side hairs are white gray popping up. And along with that comes hair sprouting in places you don't really want. And that includes the nose. And like I said, coming down the tracks here, I'm going to get that here very soon.
All right. Well, the great thing that's going on right now to be able to help with a lot of those things is you can get 20% off and free shipping with the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com. Your family jewels will thank you.
Yeah, guys, once again, if you use the code HUDDLE at manscaped.com, you can get 20% off and free shipping. Once again, that's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com if you use the code HUDDLE. Spring has sprung, but you don't want some hair springing and sprung in areas you don't want. So make sure you check out Manscaped to take care of that area, both above the belt and below the belt.
There we go. Also, we want to let you know that you can find us on Twitter. You can find Nick at Nick Kendell MHH and me at Carl Dumler MHH. As we get closer to the draft, we're putting out a lot of things out there, and you can find the Building the Broncos pod Twitter account at BTB Football Pod. Make sure you're also heading on over to milehighhuddle.com for all of the great content that we have coming out. I think, what was it, last Saturday we had like 7 or 8 articles come out in one day on the weekend.
Yeah, busy.
We're in it. We're in this right now. So, I know you've released a lot of things. I just had the Dane Brugler 7-round mock that he put out. I really liked that one.
So much
was
work.
A nice one. Yeah.
Can't imagine.
I know, exactly. But anyway, so there's lots of great things to go read over there. But also, wherever you're watching this, iTunes, YouTube, wherever it may be, please like, share, and subscribe. These are some of the best things that you can do for us. It really gets all of our work out there to so many more people. We really appreciate it. I see we got 21 little thumbs up already. If we can get that up to, let's go to Von Miller's number. Let's shoot high, 58. If we can get to that number, that would be huge for us here today. So we really appreciate it. But make sure that you're going over there, doing all those kind of things for us, and we're gonna have a great show here today. I'm excited about today's topic, and it's draft. How could you not be excited? But we got a lot of things to talk about here, and so let's jump into it. And we already got our first super chat coming in from Mr.
Boom, boom.
Boggins.
There we go.
And really appreciate that there, Mr. Boggins. Which Syracuse defense back would you draft this year, Nick?
Are you just talking about in a vacuum or like where they're expected to go? Right? Because I think even if Fatu Melifonwu is not the best scheme fit, maybe a little bit more cover 3, he's probably the best of the bunch. And if I'm going to pick any of them, I'm going to take the best guy, even though he might be more of a cover 3 corner. If I can take any in the round they're projected, I'm probably leaning towards Trill Williams. He played a lot of slot for Syracuse. I don't think that's his role in the NFL. I think he'll be more boundary, but I think he's got off coverage. He's got some length, maybe a little bit. I mean, we're just talking physics here, right? He's a little top heavy, right? He's so long, and typically those cornerbacks that are so tall, he can have sometimes a little bit of stiffness in the hips and some issues change of direction. But for a guy with his size and length, it's not like he's, Israel the other South Carolina corner who's, I cannot pronounce his name right now, but pure cover 3 guy. Like that's not him. He can do a little bit of off coverage stuff, and I think he'd be very good in a cover 4 defense. So, and also Cisco, good safety. I don't really think he's a good scheme fit for the Broncos. If they took him, I'd be like, okay, well, you're probably going to use him more as, while it is a split field safety, typically one of the safeties has a little bit more ground just because the ball's not in the center of the field most of the time. It's on one hash or the other. So,
right.
I don't think he's the best fit. I probably would go Trill Williams, but good question. UCF and Syracuse had some good defensive backs this year, man.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we got Mohammed Badri coming in here with the super chat. Always looking fly in his Mile High Huddle gear right there. You guys can go find that, of course, all that swag at our. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
I'll pull it up here.
We'll get it pulled up here in just a bit. But good to see you and Braun. Good to see you, Braun and St. Carl. Mohammed, good to see you as well. Really appreciate you tuning in here this evening. Like I said, I'm excited to talk about today's topic because it's 2 of the biggest names in the draft community, Todd McShay and Mel Kiper Jr. And they had a dueling mock draft that they put out here recently. And so they had, well, I guess it was in dueling. It had one take a pick, then the next take a pick. And so it's kind of back and forth of who got what pick. And so I guess first round pick, there we go, huddleuppod.com. That's where you can get all this kind of gear that we got going on right here. And always good thing that's out there for you. But first round, he had the Broncos staying at pick 9, or they both had the Broncos staying at pick 9 and getting Mr. Trey Lance. Man, that would be the dream, to not have to give up extra draft capital and get one of the top tier quarterbacks in this draft. Hard to beat that.
And I think also in the draft, they also had the probability of that guy being there based on all the other mocks that ESPN has accumulated so far. And I think Trey Lance only had a 5% chance of being there. So really it is one where you probably have to, if you do like Trey Lance or Justin Fields, you probably don't want to wait until 9 to have that guy fall. You probably do need to at least move up to 7, right? I feel like Detroit and pick 8 with Carolina, those are prime opportunities for the Broncos to be sniped. There's a lot of talk that Washington football team has goo heart eyes for Trey Lance and potentially New England with Justin Fields. So if the Broncos don't get a quarterback, I won't be too upset, right? Because I do really like the top 4, and it's more about them than Locke, but don't have to say that 100 times. But if they get sniped, let's say both quarterbacks are available. Let's say Mac goes 3 and then there's a run of non-quarterbacks and you have Justin Fields and Trey Lance there at 7 and then one goes 7 and one goes 8. I'm going to have a meltdown on air. I'm going I'm an ugly cry. No doubt about it.
Yep. I think you're going to see a few of us that do that. That's for sure. It'd be a very, very tough day. Before we move on to the second round pick here, and we're going to be talking about them all, but I wanted to get to a couple more super chats before we lose them or anything like that. But we got In the Shop with Willie coming in here with a super chat. Very cool vehicle there in the picture. I just want the draft to be over. Also, horse. Yeah,
Rooster padlock.
There we go. There you go. Good.
Speaking
call.
of Manscaped, we got Michael coming in here. Also, smash the like button. I feel you, Willie. We want the draft to get here, but we will miss it a little bit. Do we have to talk about the draft, Willie? We'll throw some. Just lead us. If you give the super in here, we're gonna get to it. So if you want some non-draft questions, there's your chance. Yep. We got Clifton Harris coming in here. Building around Locke is like building a 30-story structure with a cracked up foundation. Trade up. Clifton, that's not very nice. I do not disagree. We'll see. We will see. Let's get to Mr. Boggins here again. Why is Bolton still a first-round projection, a 4.61 Ross? I think it's probably a little bit a case of a linebacker who is projected first round pretty early on. And linebacker's a position too, where it's obviously you want to have athleticism, but you don't. There's a point of limiting return, right? There is a little bit of mental processing and physicality that linebackers, you can be a great athlete, but you have to have those other things too. Jared Davis, right? We just saw a great athlete running around out there. Didn't have it, at least for the processing standpoint. So I could see Bolton cracking the first round. He's very kind of, I think, team specific. And if a team needed that kind of true stack linebacker, I could see it. But he's a great example of why you probably shouldn't take a first-round linebacker in this season, because somebody's going to be there day 2, and you're going to get probably a quality starter. You don't have to use that premium resource on an off-ball linebacker in this class.
Right. No, you're right. A lot of guys I like more than Nick Bolton. I mean, I wouldn't mind if it's Nick Bolton in the end that the Broncos pick, because he's a good player. But you're right. I wouldn't want to take him there in the first round. That would be pretty upsetting. Cody Potter coming in. Of course, hey, guys. Cody, always good to see you. And it's just always fun to have a lot of these familiar faces have been here pretty much since the beginning, since we started doing the live shows. Always cool to see. Mike S., hello, Broncos country.
Yeah. Mike's been around as well. We got Nino Cristoso coming in here. Broncos need a middle linebacker. We passed on Devin Bush last year. Micah Parsons will be ideal at 9. What y'all think? You probably didn't like what I just said. Just like this is a deep linebacker class, right? You can get Brandon Browning. You can get a Zaven Collins. You can get a Cameron McGrone. Derek Barnes finally starting to get some hype. Nick Neiman, day 3. Surratt from North Carolina is another one. So, it's a position where you can get some guys that late. Now, if you do want that true, like, freakazoid athlete, go in Micah Parsons at 9, fill in a Devin White role, more Devin White than Devin Bush. Okay. Right. I do not know if the Broncos are leaning that way. I think a lot of people are connecting dots saying, like, well, they've addressed everything else on defense. Let's just go with the number 1 linebacker. Doesn't sound like the Broncos are leaning that way because of the off-field concerns. Might not even be on their board because of that. I haven't had that confirmed, but a lot of people have hinted at that. So I wouldn't love it. And it also plays a devalued position in general. But I hear you, Nino. I mean, I understand the call for a linebacker. It's just not what I would advocate for or do personally.
Right. Well, then we have Contender View coming in with a contending view to that. I don't want Micah Parsons. He is overrated, relies on his athleticism too much, and not that instinctual. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, and this is the big thing with a lot of, especially the top defenders in this draft. You're having to do a lot of projecting. Caleb Farley, probably the most gifted cornerback in this entire draft. I don't even think that's really much of a question. He's the most gifted athletically. Same with Micah Parsons, most gifted athletically linebacker in this draft. But both of them are raw for the position. There's a lot of things missing on the tape that you'd like to see. There's injury concerns with Farley. There's off-the-field concerns with Micah Parsons. Yes, there are times where you see him not doing a great job of really reading the play, and at times falling for those fakes quite a bit, which is why I question a little bit of his ability to handle dropping back in coverage, because that's a lot of what you have to learn is those instincts of just where to sit in the zone or what kind of route they're going to be running. I just question of whether Micah Parsons can really reach that full ceiling of what he could bring to the NFL. Athletically, yeah, off the charts. He'd be one of the most athletic linebackers day 1 in the NFL. There's no question about that. But athlete and football player are 2 different things. Can he have the athleticism meet up with becoming a football player? That's a huge question.
Yeah, and you're both with Farley and Parsons and some other guys. I mean, it's because of the opt-outs. It's such a weird year. So and growth, how a player grows is not linear, right? It's steps. Sometimes they take steps, 2 steps forward and 1 step back. So Micah Parsons 2 years ago, the 2019 tape, you could see he was still kind of figuring out what would he have been this year. You don't know. I bet there's like that Memphis game where he's around there making tackles, and I'm watching that game the other day just to go back over it. And there's like a double jet reverse, right? Or a double reverse where like they kind of fake one and then the other guy comes. And Micah Parsons makes a tackle 8 yards down the field. I mean, great play, but he has his head down and is just running upfield way out of position and stumbles upon it. I don't think it was a diagnosing what's coming here. I think he just like, here I am, which he had the athleticism to do it, but I don't think like in that, especially with the Vic Fangio defense and how based it's on and the integrity of the back 7 for coverage, you can't have a guy that far out of position. Otherwise you're going to leave yourself vulnerable. So I don't know. I mean, I get the intrigue because again, the Broncos, a lot of fans, I see a lot of people, they tend to be a little older, but I see a lot of fans saying like, we need a new Al Wilson, okay, I get it. I don't know how much that's going to actually change the course of this defense this year or the team.
Right.
Especially until you have a quarterback. And if you believe in Drew Lock and you think he can become a perennial top 10 quarterback, which I think is unfortunately the bar in the AFC West.
Right.
Good for you. I guess I'm not there based on what I've seen and crunching the numbers, but things happen, man. That's what makes football so great. These differing opinions and the fact that all these people, you put on all this research, all these great minds, people that are getting paid millions of dollars to make these decisions. They're wrong so often because you can't predict the human element. So stand by your conviction, man. That's all I can say. If you disagree, God bless you. I'm for it.
Yeah.
We got Tim coming in here too. Tim sounds like a 49. Oh, okay. Been trolling my 49ers fan brother with Photoshop pics of Jones in Niners garb about 3 times a day, trying to manifest that into a reality for us. I mean, Ian Rappaport today saying, like, I know Fields has been getting a little bit of push recently, and I think a lot of that has to do with bettors coming in on Justin Fields. But the actual, like, big wigs, as far as NFL insiders, are still saying Mac Jones at 3. And I believe I read that Kyle Shanahan contractually has the rights to make whatever 49ers first-round picks are. So I think the 49ers front office traded up to 3, saying, like, we can go up and get a quarterback, but if Mac Jones is Kyle Shanahan's guy, that's, you can't do anything about it. That's your guy. Maybe they didn't have to get up to 3, but you have to try, especially with Kyle Shanahan. I mean, I wouldn't take Mac Jones, but if, like, he says that if he's your guy, like if I was covering, let's say Kyle Shanahan was a Broncos coach, Broncos traded up to 3, I wouldn't have wanted Mac Jones. But if Kyle Shanahan says, like, Kyle Shanahan or Mac Jones is the guy I want, I'd be like, well, hell, this guy's one of the best football minds or offensive football minds in general. If he thinks that's the dude, then Godspeed. We'll see what happens.
Right. I mean, he's turned average quarterbacks into very good quarterbacks in the NFL at times because of his scheme and how he gets things open. So I don't think it's completely out of the realm of reality. It's still hard to believe because for most everybody, I think they have him as quarterback 5. Most everybody, not everybody. And so this idea that he's going to go number 3 overall and that they would trade 3 first-round picks to go get this guy that you have a little bit of tough time seeing how he's going to be a true top 10 quarterback. But, hey, if he fits your system, there is something to say about the quarterbacks that have found success. I mean, if you look at that 2018 draft, the top 2 quarterbacks that have found success, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, both of them went to teams that were willing to completely rewrite their entire system to fit those players.
Yep.
And so, if you got a guy that you think, hey, this is that perfect fit, hard to argue. And and kudos to them and more power for us.
Yeah.
That's great if that's how it happens for the Broncos. And you're going to probably see a lot of Niners fans who are disappointed. And
Eric Crocker, man, he's going to be very upset. I think, and I've said this before, but I think I was burned so bad by Josh Rosen and a little bit Dwayne Haskins, not as much, but that the pure pocket quarterback, I'm out. I'm out for now. I think the game is going to a point where if you have a pure pocket quarterback, he either has to be Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Peyton Manning level brilliance, or you have to have no weaknesses on the offensive line. And my God, what a thin line to walk, right? That's just trying, like you're trying to win a boxing fight with one arm tied behind your back. I'm not going to put myself in that situation. We got Andy Cowhick coming in here. Andy, good to see you. Looks like, again, the band of brothers there. I can't really tell. Looks like if you are in service, thank you very much. A small thumbnail picture there. Hard to tell. But coming in here with the super chat. Which running back would you like better for Denver between Harris and Williams in the second? Also, can we expect some Nick versus Zach fireworks during the draft stream? I'll grab my popcorns. Man, Zach's ducking me, man. No, I'm just kidding. I respect the heck out of Zach, and I respect the heck that I don't think he gives a hoot about what I have to say because he's sticking with his convictions and what he believes, and we'll see how it plays out. If you guys wanted a Zach Nick show, I think it would take you guys making that happen because I do not think Zach or Chad are going to bend over backwards to make that happen. But I'm enjoying it, guys. Broncos for breakfast in the morning. I think we're going to be coming at you again Thursday at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. And next week, we're going to be doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. Broncos for breakfast with myself and Scott Kennedy. It's going to be next week is going to be long, but again, I'm a kid waking up to talk favorite Christmas toys or candies. It's like it doesn't feel like work. Question number 1, Carl, I'll kick it to you. Which running back do you like better for Denver between Najee Harris and Javonte Williams?
I'd probably still go Najee Harris.
Yeah.
His pass blocking. I think he's more advanced than Javonte Williams, and that's an underrated skill when it comes to the NFL. Somebody the other day pointed out that Locke's injury against the Steelers, it was Philip Lindsay missing a block.
Yeah.
And while Drew Lock could have done a better job getting rid of the football and just not taking the hit and not falling like he did. I mean, there's something to say about quarterbacks learning how to take a hit and fall right. And Locke hasn't learned that. But you get a running back with the intelligence of Najee Harris back there. And I think he's a guy that, if you get him in the second round, you feel pretty good about your running back room for the next 4 years, that he can be a quality starter for you, that he's going to do a lot of things right. He's going to be a hard worker for you. He's just going to do everything right. You don't have to worry about him busting. That's the nice thing with him.
Yeah, I do like, this is a hard question for me because Williams is, I would say, more twitched up. And he brings Najee Harris before this year did not play to his weight. People see his size, but he was a little bit of a finesse runner, which concerns me a little bit because if you go back and watch that Alabama line this year, there were gaping holes. I'm not saying that he doesn't have vision. I just don't know if he has the ability in the inside zone. You have to hit that hole. We saw it this year with Philip Lindsay, right? Pounding his head into a wall. You have to be able to get through that. So I think Williams projects better there, but Harris gets the nod for me because just what he brings to the pass game. Right. It's not just the pass blocking, but also as a receiver. You can put him out there and he's kind of like an H-back. He's that good. He's not the most explosive in the open field, but that's okay. I don't need my running back, especially if they're also contributing in the pass game. I don't need them to be a home run hitter. I need somebody who can, slap out some doubles, get some base on balls, and be more of a complete player. So all the cross sports analogies here.
All right. Well, Mr. Boggins kind of getting us back there on the subject of what we're talking about here tonight, but does Lance's accuracy worry you? Thank you, Mr. Boggins. That's a great question because we keep talking about Drew Lock, and that's one of the biggest issues with him is his accuracy is just all over the place. I think there was a stat put out that Jerry Jeudy was the wide receiver with the most inaccurate passes thrown his way percentage wise of any wide receiver out there. I think 26% of his passes were not catchable this past year.
Due to the quarterback.
Right, due to the quarterback. Yeah. And so then with Lance, I do think there is some worry about this.
Yeah.
I expect that this is something that's going to improve because you have to remember that 2019 season, he was 19 years old and being asked to go out there. And you think about Drew Lock when that freshman year, I think he was like 47% completion percentage his freshman year. It was not great. And so you're asking a 18, 19-year-old to step into a really difficult situation and be great. And he was great. I would also say some of it's their system that they run, that they do take a lot of deep shots. So you're always going to have your accuracy go down a little bit. But you also see a lot of times where the short passes, that ball is dropping down. There's just something that's going on there with his footwork or something that he's just driving the ball down more so than really kind of hitting him right into the numbers. And so there's a few plays where you see his receivers have to go to their knees and there's no chance for any kind of yards after catch on those kind of plays. So it does concern me.
Yeah, it's probably my biggest concern with Lance, but you mentioned it already. Just 1 year starter, you'd expect that to improve. Typically, you see guys improve incrementally over their time. So him at, 18 years old when he was playing that season, you'd expect that to get better. And also you made a good point as well. His average depth of target, part of it is that system there, but Trey Lance far and away had the highest average depth of target at 11.5 yards per attempt. Zach Wilson was at 10.9, Justin Fields at 9.2, Trevor Lawrence at 9, and Mac Jones at 8.8. Those last two guys are the reason they're so low. So many screens. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, it's so annoying to watch Trevor Lawrence at Clemson because it's kind of like Justin Herbert last year, right? Like, I get it. They're out talenting people, but like their offense is so simple and it's like driving a Bugatti in a school zone, right? Like I need to get that boy on the Autobahn already because I cannot watch him throw another goddamn bubble screen. I need that guy. The horse has got a purr, right? So it does worry me. Another thing about Lance's accuracy too is his run game ability is I would say an extension of the short pass game, right? Like he doesn't have to fit in things in the exact best window because guess what? That dude can pull it down and run for 5 or 10. So that's something I also factor in as well, but it's definitely something to worry about. And we got some Josh Henderson coming in here, locked in with Drew Lock. And we also got Herrero Vidal coming in here with another
Horse Rooster
padlock. Yeah. So that's great. Thank you guys for contributing to the chat. We have Raymond coming in here with his beautiful wife. Congrats, Raymond. I don't know how old that is, but congrats either way. I'm just excited every day because there's amazing quarterbacks in this draft that we could get. I prefer Fields, but if not, then get a defensive player, a lineman. Why not? So it will be interesting. Do you see the prop bets? I think the first defensive player, the line right now is, I think it's either 8.5 or 9.5. What do you think?
Oh man.
And the longest I think it's ever been for a player to get drafted, a defensive player to get drafted, I think was Champ Bailey's draft, where I think he went 7. That was like the latest it's been.
Yeah. It's tough because Detroit.
Yeah.
There's a really good chance that they're trying to move back. But if there's no quarterback and they have to take a player, I think they're going defense. I think you're probably looking at maybe a Micah Parsons right there. So
it's definitely possible.
Yeah. Man, I don't know what I'd do with that bet.
I'd not touch it, maybe. I mean, you think 10 Dallas for sure. So if it's 9.5, but Denver might, I don't know. I mean, you're hoping for Denver. It's not a quarterback. It's one of those 2 offensive linemen, but who knows?
Right.
We got In the Shop with Willie here, over under on how long Shermer has a job. Speaking of betting odds, man, if things go sideways this season, I think it's going to be rough, but that's a good question. I mean, what's the average lifespan of an offensive coordinator, right? 2 years?
Yeah.
Probably 2.5 years.
Yeah. You have to factor that in.
Yeah.
For any quarterback that's coming in, that things are going to be changing on a regular basis. The only ones that don't are the guys that were offensive coordinators that became head coaches. That's the one advantage of really taking an offensive guy, that your system, at least on the offensive side, stays the same.
Mm-hmm.
But with Shermer, I think he's got a pretty short leash. Mm-hmm. I really do think that, especially if they take a quarterback in this draft, Shula is a guy that I think Peyton likes him. I think they also see a lot of these guys where, like Trey Lance and Justin Fields, where they got some of that same Cam Newton ability. And Shula was there when Cam Newton won Offensive Rookie of the Year and looked great, broke a ton of records as a rookie. And so I could see 6 games that if the offense is really stinking it up, Shermer could be gone.
I'm going to go over. I think Peyton's going to be conservative there. Unless the Broncos start off 0-6 and they're like putting up 3 points a game, I think they'd probably give him a long leash and then kind of have the offseason to figure it out. And then maybe you'd make a transition to Shula towards the end of the season. But I think 6 games I would go over on that one personally. We got Jay Kozad coming in, who's always been always contributing to the chat as well. If the Broncos were really in high on lock, they wouldn't have gone to the quarterback pro days and they would have just squashed all the rumors. Well, this probably goes both ways, right? Like, they're interested in a quarterback, pay attention to their actions. We're right on Matt Stafford. Deshaun Watson was somebody they were very interested in. Yep. Didn't end up getting them, obviously. And now they're putting in a lot of work on most of the top quarterbacks are obtainable. Right. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist. And I think if you're saying, it's due diligence, like, you're not sending that many people to that many pro days for pure due diligence, right? Like, you're evaluating your options because Locke hasn't been good enough. And that also doesn't mean that Locke is terrible, or that if they don't get a quarterback that, the season sunk, because there is still obtainable upside for Drew Lock. I think he could become a top 20, top 15 quarterback that has value, especially on his rookie contract. Still, you got 2 more years of that. But you're looking to upgrade. I mean, it's just they're looking to upgrade.
And I'd say this is also, you could be trying to light a fire under Lock too.
Mm-hmm.
Let him know, hey, you got to do something here, buddy. Just because you were a 2nd round pick, just because you went 4-1 your rookie season. This is a new regime with Peyton.
Yeah.
And if he wants to go get his quarterback, he's going to go get his quarterback. So, shape up or ship out.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's if you don't have one, it's tough too. Like, who has Shermer even had at quarterback, right? Like, the last time he had a good quarterback was Donovan McNabb when he was, back in the early 2000s with the Eagles and Andy Reid. So we got Javon Eaton coming in here, rocking he looked pretty fly there with the matching hat and shirt there, the green. It's a very small thumbnail, but I'll call style out when I see it. I got the way too much Broncos going on here with the helmet hood. But who's your pick at 9 for non-quarterback? For me personally, it's Penny Sewell if he's there, but I did think it's interesting. Did you see Pete Schrager's mock draft today?
Yep.
Mentioned specifically by name. Took Trey Lance. Mentioned specifically by name Rashawn Slater, who is too bad John's not here today because he'd be like screaming in the background because he loves himself some Rashawn Slater. But what do you think? I think it's the 2 offensive linemen.
Yeah, they'd be the top choices. It fits a need for the team, possibly now and in the future, because you just don't know what Juwan James is when he comes back. And beyond that, you have a huge need at swing tackle. Mm-hmm. I know Calvin Anderson had a couple moments here and there, but he is not good enough right now to sit there and say, we're not going to take a tackle here at pick 9. And like I said, you got to look to the future. because Juwan James, he's on a 1-year contract. He wants out. Broncos want him gone. You got to find a new guy for the next season. So if you can find a top tier guy, if you can't get a quarterback, well, get your bookend tackles that can protect any quarterback that's going to step on the field and feel really good about that, especially with Mike Munchak. I mean, you feel like he can turn a average player into a good player into a great player into a Hall of Fame player.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he brings to the table. So I'd be good with that. If we're talking defense, probably the only defensive player that I would be okay with would be Jalen Phillips. He has the high upside at a premium position, especially with Von Miller most likely gone next year. Malik Reed probably gone next year. It is a position of need right now.
I could see them talking themselves into Patrick Surtain. I know that he's not the ideal scheme for what we've seen from Fangio, but Fangio has been malleable with what he has historically. Not really using a box safety, but at least from cornerback, whether it be press or off. I mean, we saw it with Prince Umukamara, played a heck of a lot of press with him over there.
Right.
And Patrick Surtain, in a year where the draft is as weird and volatile as it's ever going to be, and you're already talking about something that's weird and volatile, Patrick Surtain feels about it as safe of a bet as possible. Now, is he going to end up being an all-pro cornerback? I don't think so. I don't think he has that level of twitch. But, he's extremely safe. And if you can get that guy on 5-year contract and lock down one of the hardest to find positions at a position where you cannot have enough guys, I could see it. I know that Eric is probably, he has a twitch in his spine right now hearing me say that out in there, because I know he really is hyping on the Patrick Surtain, or has been, scheme fit, but everything comes full circle draft season, right? I was kind of like off it, then I was on it, then I was off it. I think it makes sense, but it's kind of like, you're hitting a double and not really hitting a homer. So,
right.
Good question, Jabon. We really appreciate that. Call of Duty. Here we go. Dope pod. Thank you so much, Call of Duty, rocking that old school Alabama number 4 Judy there. I want Newsome or JOK if we don't go quarterback. So he's talking to quarterback. Carl, let's pivot this, and both good names. I don't really know about JOK's fit, but if they go with him and they're saying like, we need a Darren Waller, Travis Kelce guy, period.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Vic Fangio, I trust you. I don't see it from where I'm sitting. I'm not calling up Vic Fangio. We're not sitting watching the JOK film together. So I can't tell you what he'd say there. But here's an interesting question for you. Newsome and JOK, who's off the board first?
Ooh. I think Newsome.
I do too. He's getting, all of a sudden, like everyone is like, Newsome's going to go top 15. Like all these people are like, Newsome's going to go way high. He's like the only scheme versatile cornerback that doesn't have the Caleb Farley injury concerns. He might be the third guy off the board.
Yeah.
Third cornerback.
I think there's about 4 or 5 cornerbacks in this draft that you feel really good about. And then there's that next tier that you're like, they could be maybe good number 2 slot cornerbacks. I mean, it's just not one of those drafts that just blows you away at the cornerback position, but it's decent. Mm-hmm. But those top 5 guys are the ones that you're looking at and saying, yeah, that's who I want to go get. Linebacker, I feel like you feel really good even into the 3rd round of finding a pretty darn quality guy that could start either right away or at least within the 2 years. And so JOK, I don't think is quite as big of a need. And I think you've also seen a lot of these hybrid guys that are that safety / linebacker that have not really done well in the NFL. Now you got those other guys that are like the safety / nickel cornerback that can do well, that have shown great versatility to work in the NFL. But I think that linebacker spot, you either need a guy that's really great at being a linebacker or a guy that's really great at being a safety. It's hard to find that hybrid that's going to work well in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, Derwin James is a freak, but also is Derwin James even the best scheme fit for this defense? We'll find. I'm really curious to hear see what Brandon Staley does with Derwin James this year. I've heard some talk that they might even move into boundary corner. So who the heck knows? I mean, nobody loves Derwin like I do. Speaking of people I love, Michael coming in here. Michael Carmelini. He's not my guy, but Mac makes the right reads and is really accurate. It only takes one team to love him. And I mean, that's true for every single one of these guys, right? You need to be out there, especially, obviously, I want you guys to do your own work, but if you don't just listen to Carl and me, right? Like, There's a lot of data out there that shows that like crowdsourcing, big boards, and draft content actually does better than actual teams making decisions, right? I feel like they can get in their own little echo chambers, like, oh, we love this guy. And then you have teams that do crazy things like the Raiders and the Seahawks in the draft that kind of skew everything else. But there's there's a lot of smart people that are doing this out in the media. And if you can kind of see what's going on there, I think that Mac Jones should be lower just because of the tools and the traits. But also, we're not getting the full picture, right? Like, we're not talking to the teammates. We're not hearing the leadership. We're not seeing him on the whiteboard or the film sessions, et cetera, et cetera. And that could be a tiebreaker, right? Like, that's just stuff we don't see from here.
You think about how many of the wide receivers they've asked from Alabama, which quarterback would you rather have, Tua or Mac? Every one of them have said Mac. And Tua went top 6 or what? Or 5th, 6th?
I think he went 5th.
5th. So, I mean, which is, it's a bad question to ask them, especially coming off the season. I mean, Alabama wins the championship, so it's like, oh, yeah, we got to support our guy, those kind of things. But, I mean, they've worked with both of them, and you could say that some of them have had more success with Mac than they ever did with Tua.
Yeah, I mean, good point there. Good point. I see a lot of people talking about double dipping at linebacker, Carl. What are your thoughts there, even in the top 2 rounds? For me, not there. But if you took one of the top 100 in one day 3, I mean, you need bodies there, right? I don't have any issue with that. But in the top 100, probably not. Probably not.
Yeah. It's hard for me just because it's not a premier position. So to use 2 top 40 picks on the linebacker spot when it's not a premier position, that's not doing great jobs. It's not doing a great job with your allocation of resources. That would be my biggest issue there with making that kind of decision. And really, we've seen in the NFL, linebacker is one of those positions where you can find talent throughout the draft. Mm-hmm. It's not one of those, the first round's the only place that you find these guys. I think that's why we've been harping so much on quarterback. Right now, 22 of the 32 starters were first round picks. 19 of those were top 10 picks. So it's really hard to find quarterbacks after you get past pick 10. You just don't do it very often. Right now, there's 5 guys that are scheduled to start from the second round. It wouldn't surprise me if there's only 2 by the end of the season. You got Jalen Hurts that should be starting, and I'm trying to think who was the other one.
Derek Carr is one.
Oh yeah, Derek Carr.
Andy Dalton's one.
But Chicago's trying to. I mean, they paid Dalton, but they're looking to upgrade there. You got Broncos, of course, with Drew Lock, but maybe looking to upgrade. And there's it seems like there's one more. But anyway, again, it's just really, really hard to find that quarterback position. Linebacker, 3rd, 4th, 5th round, you can still find guys. I mean, look at the Broncos win for their Super Bowl. Trevathan, 6th round pick. I mean,
Brandon Marshall picked off of another team's practice squad.
Wasn't he 5th round?
Something like that, but he was on the Jags and they picked him off the practice squad. So
so it's one of those positions. If you could find a guy that fits your scheme, you can do pretty good.
Yep, and we got Tommy Simmers coming in here with a cute pic. It looks like it's cat behind a stained glass window, but I can't tell exactly. Either that or he's giving us something from Manscaped. Could Mac Jones failing in San Francisco cost Shanahan his job? Absolutely. Yes. I mean, they've had like 1 winning season, 2 winning seasons in his time there. And obviously they went to the Super Bowl that one season. This last year, the Broncos or the 49ers were the one team to have more injuries than anybody else. I mean, you could argue either way. But if Mac Jones fails, I mean, this is right the shot, right? If you trade up this much for a quarterback and you take the wrong guy, that's your job. And I think that it's a little different with Peyton because I don't think they're not going to give up that level of capital to move up, but also they are not going to. Peyton has 6-year window, so like let's say this quarterback, and after year 3 you realize that he's not it. Like they go get a guy and he's not it. I think Peyton would still get another roll of the dice. Obviously Fangio wouldn't, but that's something to be said too. Like is Peyton ready to do it, or is he going to sit back and watch? Well, if he wants to have multiple shots, taking one this year gives you more time. So,
right. Yeah, that's the direction I would go. All right, we have Mark Langley coming in here with a great super chat. What's up, guys? What is your true gut feeling when the Broncos pick number 9? So
no BS.
Yeah, hashtag no BS, hashtag BTB. I really appreciate that, Mark. One, my gut feeling is Broncos are not picking at 9. It's either they're moving up or moving back. I mean, it's just really hard to see them sitting there. My gut feeling says that they're going to move up, take a quarterback. I really think there is a really good chance that Mac Jones goes there at 3. And we heard earlier today that the Dolphins are looking at moving back just a few spots. Well, who's a few spots behind the Dolphins? Broncos.
That's if I think that's contingent on if Pitts and Chase are off the board. Because in that case, it does not seem like, listening to people who cover the Dolphins or are closer to the Dolphins, that the Dolphins want to pick a Slater or a Sewell. They're a team that is looking for a weapon. They invested a bunch in the offensive line last season, and they know that kind of is 1 or 2 years down the line until you really start to see that. If you even top 10 offensive tackles, typically, unless you're Tristan Wirfs, God's greatest gift to earth from, Solon, Iowa, then most of the time they're a little bit up and down their rookie season. God, Tristan Wirfs so good. But I think that they're looking for a weapon, and I think they would love Pitts or Chase. And if neither are there, then they're thinking, well, we love Smith and we love Waddle. I bet you one of them is going to be there at 9. So I do think it's contingent on the board falling that specific way, but sounds like it's hedging that way. It really does. Right.
So like I said, I think the Broncos are going to move up. I think that they're really wanting to go ahead and get their quarterback. Like I said, really, this works out better for Peyton. Like you said, he gets maybe 2 shots at the quarterback to get it right and to get that position figured out.
Yeah.
I'd rather have that than the 1 shot where you just hope that this works really well.
Yeah. And David Bingham coming in here. Nick, Locke is going to mess you up. Is this a threat?
Ooh.
You know what? I'm pulling for Locke. We'll see what happens, but I would rather he be an anomaly and the Broncos find their quarterback if they don't go that way. It's probably not the direction I would go, but I would love to have deep fried crow. You can give me some Raven sauce on the side. I don't know, but nothing would make me happier.
Right.
But it's a game of probabilities, right? And especially these personnel decision makers, you have to trust the math, and there can be anomalies, but you shouldn't be betting on an anomaly to guide your decisions. You should be looking at the probabilities. And right now the probabilities not look good for Locke. Doesn't mean he can't figure it out, because there are obviously so many circumstances surrounding him why he could be bad, but are they reasons why he's been bad? Or are they excuses? I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. Dion Roman coming in here. I think that Justin Fields is the medicine we need. Speaking of which, happy holiday to those of you in Colorado. Make sure you are staying safe and don't drive. God bless. Please do not drive. Speaking of the medicine.
Yeah. I had somebody ask them what the date was, and they said, "You really don't know?" Like, oh yeah, I guess it is a holiday.
Yeah. Well,
but Fields, I think we've been pretty clear on this show how many times we've said it. We love Fields. Yeah. We would love to see him on the Broncos, and there's just so much to like about his game that I think he could be a great fit. Accuracy-wise, I think he's a great fit with Shurmur even. I think he maybe is the best quarterback to fit with Shurmur that way.
It does sound like crowdsourcing with people more connected than myself. The coaching staff prefers Fields more, where Peyton may prefer Lance. It might just be depending on who's even available. But I've said from the beginning, in November, I love 4 quarterbacks in this class. Yep. If I can get one, I am happy as a pig in mud. Speaking of somebody happy as a pig in mud, Christian Garas holding that hell of a mackerel right there, right? Probably not a mackerel, just a phrase. But who's your guys' top 3 candidates at pick 9 without quarterbacks? Well, you should have listened to our podcast last week, Christian. We did the big board, but for me, they're all offensive players. Kyle Pitts, I do not give a flying F that they have Noah Fant or Albert Okwuegbunam. Kyle Pitts is different. You're going to look dumb looking back if you don't take the best player. And he's just different. I'm sorry. I don't care. Like Albert Okwuegbunam, he runs a 4.4 at whatever size. He's had 12 catches as a round 4 pick. I'm not going to let that guy keep me from taking a potential Hall of Fame player. So Kyle Pitts is up there, and then it's Sewell and Slater.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with those. I mean, I love Waddle. I think you know that.
Yeah.
So he'd be another that's tough, just because I love him so much for the Broncos, just because he is so different than any other wide receiver they have. You can do things with him that you can't do with Judy or Sutton or Hamler. And so I wouldn't mind that pick either, especially, okay. I'll say I wouldn't mind that pick if you plan on not paying Sutton, because then at least you're setting yourself up of, hey, we keep that position strong for whatever quarterback is here. But otherwise, yes, offensive tackles, And I know a lot of people are like, man, right tackle, why would you take a right tackle when you already have that left tackle spot? Or why would you move a guy like Sewell, who's great at left tackle, to right tackle? That's a waste of his energy. Well, there's some great pass rushers going against that right tackle. A lot of teams have really switched that over where that's where they want to attack. And I mean, Von Miller's made a career out of attacking right tackles. So you get a guy that can stop a guy like Von Miller, you feel pretty good. But yeah, so there's not much of a difference in the value between a left tackle and a right tackle. They're both very valuable to your team.
You need two either way, right?
Yep.
You need two. So that's what I'm thinking as well. So that's a good point, Carl. We got In the Shop with Willie here. I like the 6 games. Shermer's lease is shorter than anybody else's. I think Fangio may need somebody to fall on the sword midseason. I think it's him. Based on talking to the media, I think you're right. I think if anybody's going to fall on the sword, it's going to be Shermer, and then it would be Fangio not far behind him. It doesn't mean it'll happen, but that does seem to be the way it would go.
Right.
Actually, Locke maybe would fall on this sword first, actually. They might go to a different option, assuming they're going to have Broncos, no matter what. Like, if you don't want a rookie quarterback in the top 10 or whatever, fine. They're going to bring in somebody else still. Like, they just are. Probably, right. I would say Bridgewater is probably the most likely, but Nick Foles is still out there too. And man, I'm not happy about either of them, but it is what it is. But I think Locke actually probably falls on that sword first if he even wins the starting position. Right. So it's in the other end of things here. David Wilkinson coming in here. We do not need a rookie quarterback.
Stop yelling.
Yeah, it's okay. No, the passion, I love it. Was key up people. Real Bronco fans are cheering for Drew Lock to progress into the MVP he's capable of being. Go Broncos. Well, David, I love the passion. I love that you have you standing by your guns there. I do not agree, but that's God bless you for having a different opinion. And if Locke is the dude, Carl, I know you're a man of faith. You're a man of the cloth. I don't know if that's actually for what it would be technically. Is that a Catholic thing? I don't know. But if that happens, please just let's talk to the big guy. Drew Lock becoming a MVP candidate he's capable of. Please, nothing would make me happier. Nothing would make me happier.
Right. His success. His success is the Broncos' success.
Yep.
So that's what we're all about. We're about building the Broncos to something great.
Yeah.
And if that means that we're wrong in the process, then hey, that's great.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I was a big Paxton Lynch guy. I'll keep saying it. That was pretty bad.
Tim Hall coming in here. Shrimp. God, I can't even. Tim, shrimp chicken lock. Well, I didn't know what that was at first, but you got me. That was a funny one. That got me. Andy Cowick coming in here. Give me Tevin Jenkins at 15 or 20 if they trade back. I won't lie to you. I am very much nervous that Tevin Jenkins is going to be a Raider. There's a lot of smoke pushing that way. I would be very upset because I love him and I don't want to have to hate him, but it feels like that's a very possible outcome, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So We'll see. Here we go. Facebook user coming in here. Thank you, Facebook user. What a unique name. Mike Carl's pass rusher equals Phillips as long as medicals check out. God, just the medicals, man. Right? It's
right.
How could you know? How could you know here?
That's the tough part. I mean, without the medicals, he's a top 5, top 6 pick in this draft. I mean, premier pass rushers, if you can get them, boom, you go for that. That's awesome. And you are very happy with that kind of decision. But yeah, if you don't know if that guy's going to make it to a second contract because he keeps getting head injuries and has to retire early because of concussions, that's a lot of investment in a guy that's going to be pretty big high risk for getting more and more concussions.
And this isn't a negative, but it is something that is worth pondering on, is Jalen Phillips has not a side hustle, but interest in music production. And he's talented at that. And if he gets one too many concussions or one more, maybe he's like, you know what? Got the signing bonus. I'm going to go for the music industry now because it's not worth it. Not worth the long-term health of my life and my longevity. And, good for him. Guys should have interest outside of their job. I mean, hello, here I am doing this as, have a different career.
Right.
But that's fine. But it is something that when it comes to the draft, it's something you do have to at least think about. So we got Muhammad coming in here with a super sticker. I'm guessing it's a pair because Muhammad Badri, name a better duo than the pair working out with Mohamed Badri. Unfortunately, John is not here working the 1s and 2s in the background, so I have absolutely no idea to show you what that super sticker is. But Mohamed, I love you, and I appreciate the heck out of you, and thank you for the super sticker.
And then we got this really cool idea coming in from Damon Mitchell. Put Albert O at fullback would make the Broncos so dynamic in big formations if we draft Kyle Pitts. So we're talking Noah Fant, Kyle Pitts, and Albert O on the field at the same time. Probably, Judy and Sutton on the outside? Or do you have to eliminate one of them to have a running back since you got a fullback?
I'm running 13. I'm running 0-3 personnel.
Yeah.
Right? Like running backs don't matter, but I'm an Iowa Hawkeye first and foremost. So the more tight ends on the field, the better. And let's be real. Pitts, is he an X? Is he a Y? Is he an F? Are you going to play him some H? He's so dynamic. I think maybe the X stuff is a little bit overblown just because we haven't seen it so much. Maybe you're projecting, but like he can in certain packages, no doubt about it. So I don't know. At that point, it's the perfect example is the 2014 Detroit Lions, right? The Detroit Lions in 2014 were picking 9 overall. And they had Nick Fairley, who was like 12th overall pick in 2011, and Ndamukong Suh, who was the 2nd overall pick, I believe, in 2010, I believe. And so you have those 2 guys in there. Well, you know what? We already have those 2 high invested guys. Let's not even consider Aaron Donald. You look like an idiot. Take the best player. Just don't put yourself in that situation, right? Like when you look at it down the line, 5 to 10 years from now, you look like a fool. You can't have that myopic of a view on team building. You just can't.
Right. Well, and you think about, okay, let's say Albert O works out and he becomes a really good tight end and teams are like, oh my gosh, this guy's really dynamic, or Noah Fant. And so then you draft Kyle Pitts. Well, you got some trade pieces that you can really work with that maybe you can get some better value than what you even used on Albert O or Noah Fant. Hey, you got 3 good years out of him. Now you're trading him for a 2nd round pick. Sets you up for some other things. It just, you got to think of it as, like I said, in the team building aspect of going for the best players possible to get on your roster. The Broncos have had a minus in the category of actual talent on the field for a while. They've gotten some of it back. They've had a couple of really good drafts here where they've gotten some guys that are really talented, but now they need some other more playmakers to go and just really take them over the top. Plus a quarterback, obviously. The whole story starts and ends right there with the quarterback position, but you still got to have other players to go do something with that quarterback. We're seeing with Sam Darnold. He went to a team with no talent, and then he failed, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, he's a terrible quarterback. Well, I do think he has part of that, but I don't think he's the entire reason or even the biggest reason that the Jets failed over the last few years.
Yeah, maybe he was overdrafted. I know some people are dunking on it, saying, "Oh, I had him as a 3rd round value." Like, it's hard to evaluate him. It's not like the Broncos situation is anything like the Jets, right? Like the Broncos actually have talent and have had competent offensive line play. I know people would really push against that, but I think a lot of people are not actually watching offensive lines across the league and seeing just how bad the state of offensive line play is. Like it's bad. And when you go on from Joe Flacco, who is the worst mobile quarterback in football, to Drew Lock, who, we give him a hard time in here and we hold up a critical eye to him. There's no grading on the curve, right? It's quality quarterback or not. We're tough on him. But one thing I will say is he does not take a lot of sacks, and that helps a lot. He gets rid of the football. Sometimes, maybe not the best decisions, sometimes not the best accuracy, but he's not out there a statue in the pocket, to be cliche. We got Nivell Miller coming in here. The Broncos aren't picking a quarterback. Gosh, guys, if anybody should know by now covering the NFL draft, or us, I guess, don't make definitive statements because you have a real chance of looking foolish. So I appreciate that, but I'm not even making definitive statements. I'm saying I would go for a quarterback, but there are realities where it doesn't happen because shit happens. So John's not here to bleep that out. So sorry, guys, that just is what it is. Right. Again, coming back to it. It happens. They needed those picks and more to fill those upcoming holes on defense. Well, guess what happens when you have a franchise quarterback, Carl? You
can pay other guys.
No, that's especially when they're on a contract.
Yeah, when they're on a rookie contract, you can pay for a defense.
Yeah,
the Chiefs just did that. when Patrick Mahomes was on his rookie contract, Tyrann Mathieu, Frank Clark, they paid Chris Jones during that time. I'm trying to think who else.
Deep. They paid like multiple bad contracts for linebackers.
Right.
That's another thing. That was the point I was going for. Like, you can have holes, right? If you have a franchise quarterback, you just like the Chiefs haven't had a perfect roster any of the years, the past 3 seasons. First team in NFL history to host the AFC Championship game 3 years in a row. You know why? Yeah. A great quarterback is like the Dutch boy in the dam, finger in the hole. Maybe some other ones will spring up, but guess what? More fingers. Gonna block those holes. A great quarterback can overcome those weaknesses. You don't have to have a perfect roster if you have a good enough quarterback that can raise all ships. Or raise all boats, whatever.
All right, we got Cody Potter coming in here with the super chat. Really appreciate it, Cody. And this is a great question. Compare Lance and Fields and Jones to past quarterbacks. So I'll start with Fields. I thought somebody, who was I listening to the other day? I can't remember which analysis out there. The quarterback school guy.
It'll come to me. Keep going.
Okay. Anyway, he said a lot of people like to compare Fields to Cam Newton. He said, I see actually Ben Roethlisberger. Now, a more athletic Ben Roethlisberger, because he's like, 1, Fields is more accurate than Cam Newton. And 2, he likes to use his running around ability, not so much to actually go take off running as much as Cam, but to just stay in the pocket and make plays and just have guys falling off of him in the pocket, like you saw with Big Ben, where take 3 or 4 guys to take him down. And so I thought that was kind of a nice idea of just that Big Ben with the ability to stay in the pocket and stay up and make plays that should have been negative plays, but more athletic, obviously. And I think he's got better touch than what Big Ben had when he came into the NFL.
I've always said he's somewhere between Deshaun Watson and Ryan Tannehill, right? Where, the arm talent is good and he can go do stuff, but he wants to stay in that pocket. And sometimes he's kind of the opposite of Locke, honestly, in this aspect. Justin Fields is going to take some sacks that he probably shouldn't have because he's being greedy. Right. He's hunting for big plays. And if you get the big plays, that's great. But you do want to be a little bit careful sometimes getting your offense out of sync and putting yourself in a bad situation if you're taking bad sacks. But, you're hunting, right? You're looking for big plays. And the quarterback guy you're talking about for the quarterback school is JT O'Sullivan.
Yes, there you go.
So, he does a lot of good stuff.
Yep.
So compare Lance, Fields, and Jones to past quarterbacks. Honestly, Lance, to me, I've heard the Cam Newton a lot for that one, but I think Kaepernick is kind of a good floor for him. And I'm talking purely Kaepernick Super Bowl run because, the accuracy can be a little bit hit or miss, but he's a heck of an athlete in the open field. And if he gets going, he can be gone, but he's also just as likely to run over you, and he protects the football. And if you can pair all that with a good defense, you can go all the way to the Super Bowl. I like that one a lot. Jones, God, Jones is a hard one, right? Like, Tom Brady. No. I definitely, just to kind of give some people a hard time, said, Case Keenum. Well, I don't think Case Keenum is the worst example for him, but I do think he has better anticipatory throws than Case Keenum showed.
Right. I think he's got a better arm than Case Keenum did. 2015
Andy Dalton, maybe. 2015 Andy Dalton was really good. Like, let's be real. People don't remember that because that was the Broncos' great defensive year, but I think he was like one of the top 3 statistical quarterbacks in football that season.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of always Kirk Cousins comparisons because of the idea of him going and working with Shanahan. Yeah. I think Kirk Cousins is probably his ceiling. Another one that I liked for Lance is Steve McNair.
Yes.
Body type, style, a lot of things really line up on that one.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one. We got Brian Greenfield coming in here with the $15 super. Brian, you're always in here. We really appreciate it. Sometimes holler at us, man. You just drops the supers and we appreciate that. But ask us a question. Favorite color, kill F Mary. I don't know. Just give us something here because you're obviously giving us a lot, but I feel like we owe you. You're always helping us here. So we appreciate the heck out of you. But guys, we got to close that out. And if we missed any of your supers, don't blame me. Blame John because he's not here to defend himself. But seriously, no producer today. So if we missed anything, please hit us up on Twitter. Also, another thing today, our names aren't showing up because John wasn't here to set it up. So I'm not sure what's going on there. But this is Building the Broncos. You can find myself at Nick Kendell, MHH. You can find Carl at Carl Dumler, MHH. And guys, we're going to be here again on Tuesday. Only one more building the Broncos until the NFL draft. God bless. I'm so excited. Thursday morning at 8 o'clock. My time zones. I never get time zones right. It's Thursday at 8 o'clock in the morning. We'll have another Broncos for breakfast with Scott and myself. Make sure you guys check that out. Oh, we got Glenn coming in. Don't even have it up. Oh, potty mouth, Nick. I'm sorry, Glenn. Nobody's here, so I know. Well,
yeah.
The chat was into it today, so okay, there you go. The last second one, we got to get the air horn going, the rap air horn, because gosh, I used to spam the heck out of that in college just to tease my friends, just to be annoying, because that's what you all are here for me to annoy you. But we appreciate you guys. Carl, we didn't get to your 58, but we got to 43 likes and hearts, so we appreciate that, guys. That's good.
I'll take TJ Ward.
TJ Ward, that's right. A position that the Broncos defense doesn't really use anymore, but don't tell that to Broncos Facebook. Yeah, make sure you guys go over to milehighhuddle.com for all of our written content and the MHH community content. Obviously, a lot of draft stuff is going to be there, both pre-draft. It's already been coming down the tracks, but also post-draft. Once the draft is over, that's just a step. We're going to have a lot to break down of how these guys fits, what the expectations are, what the Broncos' new needs are, what the team's expectations are, it's just so much things we've been talking about, all these possibilities. Well, soon it's about to be reality, and we're going to be there to break it down for you guys. Head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star rating and a comment. Guys, the most important thing you can do for us on YouTube, like, subscribe, and share if you're joining us via YouTube, or click those thumbs up if you're joining us on Facebook. And doing either of those things, if you're joining us on those platforms, help us more than anything else you can do, right? Unless you're going to get building the Broncos tattooed across your chest, which great idea. But maybe not. But that would be so helpful for us. Also, you can find us on Twitter at Mile High Huddle and at BTB Football Pod. I know that some guys are still here. We got Clayton saying, love the show, guys. I appreciate that a lot. We got Devin McKay saying Broncos social media fans. Is that a Broncos locker? I mean, Noel Cabela, who's Carl and I have talked with a lot, very passionate Broncos fan and draft fan. He sent me that for the wedding. And the wife said, you know what? That's like a nice wedding gift, but I think that one's for you. So we can share it. Thank you very much. We got Joe Manick saying, great show, Cleveland Draft. 12 more likes to hit 100. Oh man, there must be a bunch more likes on Facebook or something we can't see there. So, well, guys, we appreciate the heck out of you. Oh, see, coming in. See, this is the worst. Hangnail at work and you don't know how to take care of it. And I just OCD, like I need to get it off. I'm like biting at it.
Yep.
One of these guys don't have that issue. But guys, if you are going to go celebrate, make sure you're safe, get an Uber, and love you all to death. And we'll see you very soon. Carl, stay safe too. Love you, big guy. And go Broncos, guys.